On the night of January 24th, 2010, Joan Renee Cook was last seen leaving her estranged husband's home in Salem, Virginia. She told him she was going to walk to a friend's house, but she never arrived. Hours later, a text message from Joan's phone simply read, "I love you." Since that moment, Joan's phone, bank accounts, and social media have shown no activity. No arrests have been made, and the circumstances surrounding her disappearance remain unresolved. You might think this case is just another missing person story, but you could hold a vital piece of the puzzle. Many cases have been solved because someone, just like you, recalled a small detail or remembered a conversation they once dismissed. If you lived near Salem in 2010, or if you think you might know something, no matter how minor, it could be the key that brings justice. By paying attention, sharing, and speaking up, you become part of the effort to find answers. Joan's family still waits for the truth. Your voice matters. Stay with us as we explore the full story. On the night of January 24th, 2010 in Salem, Virginia, 44-year-old Joan Renee Cook was last seen alive. She had been staying at the home of her estranged husband, Mike Cook, on Elderwood Road. Though separated, Joan often spent weekends at the house to remain close to their young daughter. That Sunday evening was no different, until, according to Mike, Joan announced around 11 p.m. that she was going to walk to a nearby friend's house. She left on foot. She never returned. Hours later, at 5 a.m., a single text message was sent from Joan's phone to the friend she had reportedly planned to visit. The message was short, "I love you," but the friend would later confirm they had not been home that night and had not seen Joan at all. Joan's phone was never located. No calls or messages were sent after that final text. No further phone activity, bank transactions, or social media updates ever followed. Days passed before anyone realized Joan was missing. Her sister, Carol, received a call from Joan's workplace alerting her that Joan hadn't shown up to her scheduled shifts. Carol immediately reached out to Mike, who informed her that Joan had left his house days earlier and never returned. He hadn't contacted authorities, claiming he assumed Joan had gone back to her boyfriend's home. Carol found that explanation troubling. The January night had been cold and wet, not ideal for a late-night walk. Joan's sudden absence, combined with her consistent work attendance and her devotion to her daughter, raised immediate red flags. Family members and investigators both believed something was wrong. The complete lack of contact or activity only strengthened suspicions. Within days, what began as a missing person report shifted towards something more ominous: the strong possibility of foul play. Joan Renee Cook had been married to Mike Cook for 22 years. According to Joan's sister, Carol, the marriage had been difficult from the beginning. It was never particularly happy, Carol said. It was more of a comfort arrangement for both of them. Despite this, the couple shared a home in Salem, Virginia, and had a daughter together, who remained Joan's top priority throughout her life. In 2007, Mike left Virginia and moved to Des Moines, Iowa in search of work. Joan and their daughter stayed behind. The initial plan was for the family to reunite once Mike became established in Iowa. But during his absence, Joan started a new job and began dating another man she met through work. She kept the relationship private at first, but Mike learned about it approximately 3 months after his move. He returned to Salem not long after. Even after Mike's return, Joan continued seeing her boyfriend. According to Carol, Mike started exhibiting troubling behavior around this time. He would reportedly wait outside Joan's workplace, watching her and her new partner. He was also allegedly caught placing nails under Joan's car tires. Despite these concerns, Joan and Mike never legally divorced, partly due to financial reasons. By late 2019, Joan had moved in with her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Mike remained in the home on Elderwood Road with their daughter. The couple had developed an informal arrangement. Every other weekend, when Joan's boyfriend had visitation with his own child, Joan would stay at Mike's house to spend time with her daughter. This complex living situation became routine, at least on the surface. But the dynamics were far from simple. While the setup appeared functional, it masked underlying tensions from years of marital strain and recent personal conflicts. That quiet tension would frame the final weekend Joan was ever seen. Joan Renee Cook was staying at the Elderwood Road home of her estranged husband, Mike Cook. This arrangement wasn't unusual. Joan often spent weekends there when her boyfriend had visitation with his child so she could be near her own daughter. That Sunday evening followed the same pattern until, according to Mike, Joan told him she was going to walk to a nearby friend's house. He said she left around 11 p.m. and never came back. The weather that night was cold and rainy. Joan's family found it strange that she would go out walking so late, especially in such conditions. Joan had a car, but, according to Mike, she chose to go on foot. The decision raised concerns once she was reported missing. The friend Joan was reportedly visiting later told investigators they were not home that night. At 5 a.m., a text message was sent from Joan's phone to that same friend. It read, "I love you." The phone has not been recovered, and it remains unclear whether Joan sent that message herself. Since then, there has been no activity from her phone, no bank withdrawals, and no communication on social media. Joan's absence wasn't noticed immediately. Her sister, Carol, became concerned after receiving a call from Joan's workplace, informing her that Joan hadn't shown up for several shifts. Knowing how responsible Joan was, Carol feared something was wrong. She contacted Mike, who explained that Joan had left his house on Sunday and never returned. He hadn't reported her missing because he assumed she'd gone back to her boyfriend's residence. Carol was alarmed by that explanation. Joan wouldn't have walked alone on a stormy night, and she wouldn't have failed to show up at work without calling. She certainly wouldn't have abandoned her daughter without explanation. As the last known person to see Joan, Mike's story drew immediate scrutiny. Carol reported Joan missing, and a police investigation was opened. That night marked the last confirmed sighting of Joan Cook and the beginning of a mystery that remains unsolved. Following Joan Cook's disappearance, police began a thorough investigation, starting with those closest to her. Her new boyfriend, who had been in a relationship with her since Mike's move to Des Moines, was one of the first individuals questioned. Authorities quickly ruled him out as a suspect. He had a verifiable alibi. He was out of town that weekend with his child. Law enforcement also looked into others in Joan's daily life, including friends and colleagues. None were found to have had any involvement, and no new leads surfaced from those interviews. As the outer circle was cleared, attention turned inward, specifically to Mike Cook. Mike had been the last person to see Joan. Though he denied involvement in her disappearance, there were lingering concerns about his past behavior. According to Carol, Joan's sister, Mike had exhibited troubling tendencies, including allegedly placing nails under Joan's tires and showing up at her workplace to observe her interactions with her new boyfriend. Despite those concerns, Mike insisted that nothing unusual had occurred during Joan's stay at his house that weekend. He told police they hadn't argued and that Joan simply said she was going out for a walk. Their 7-year-old daughter, who was at the house that weekend, told investigators she hadn't seen or heard anything disturbing. In an effort to uncover any hidden evidence, investigators searched Mike's property thoroughly. Cadaver dogs were brought in, and the house and yard were combed for signs of a struggle. No blood, physical evidence, or forensic clues were discovered. The search turned up nothing that could directly tie Mike, or anyone else, to Joan's disappearance. Even so, investigators didn't stop considering Mike a person of interest. With no definitive evidence, though, they were unable to move forward with charges or make any arrests. The investigation reached a frustrating standstill. The absence of a crime scene, a witness, or physical proof meant detectives had little to act on. This section underscores the immense difficulty of investigating a missing persons case that yields no clear trail. Joan's disappearance, despite immediate efforts, left no fingerprints, no literal or figurative path to follow. Law enforcement, though committed, were hampered by the lack of forensic evidence and the passage of time. As months turned into years, media interest began to fade. tips slowed. The story slipped from headlines, but not from the minds of those who knew Joan. Carol remained vocal, repeating that Joan would never abandon her daughter or disappear by choice. Detectives agreed that foul play was likely, but without the evidence to prove it, the case stayed open and painfully unresolved. Since Joan Cook's disappearance, several theories have circulated, each attempting to explain what might have happened on that cold January night in 2010. The most widely accepted theory centers on Mike Cook, Joan's estranged husband and the last person known to have seen her. Many believe Mike played a role in her disappearance. Some suggest he intentionally caused harm, while others speculate that an accident may have occurred and subsequently been concealed. Despite these suspicions, no direct evidence has ever linked Mike to any crime. Mike continues to deny any involvement in Joan's disappearance. Joan's sister, Carol, has been particularly vocal about her beliefs. She stated publicly that she thinks something happened between Mike and Joan that night. Her suspicions are not solely based on that evening, but also on Mike's troubling behavior prior to Joan's disappearance. Actions such as allegedly putting nails under Joan's tires and stalking her workplace have contributed to the family's mistrust. Carol finds it especially disturbing that Joan never contacted her daughter following that night, which was highly uncharacteristic of a devoted mother. Beyond suspicions around Mike, alternative theories have been explored. One theory proposes that Joan was the victim of a random act of violence while walking late at night. Given the weather conditions, cold and rainy, it would have been an unusually vulnerable time to be outside alone. Another possibility is that Joan became disoriented or injured during her walk and succumbed to the harsh elements. However, this explanation struggles to account for the mysterious text message sent from Joan's phone around 5 a.m., which simply read, "I love you." Investigators and family members alike question whether Joan sent that message or if it was sent by someone else using her phone. These unresolved questions have kept the case shrouded in ambiguity. Various scenarios remain plausible, yet none have been proven beyond doubt. No arrests have been made, no official conclusion reached. The lack of clarity leaves Joan's loved ones in ongoing anguish, trapped between hope and uncertainty. This section emphasizes the heartbreaking reality of a case where the truth remains elusive and justice still out of reach. The disappearance of Joan Cook has left a lasting and profound impact on our family. Among them, her sister Carol has emerged as the family's most outspoken advocate. Carol has dedicated herself to sharing Joan's story publicly, seeking any information that could bring answers or lead to justice. She describes Joan as a caring, dependable mother, someone who would never willingly abandon her young daughter. This characterization makes Joan's unexplained absence all the more difficult to accept. In the years following Joan's disappearance, her family has endured a long and painful journey marked by grief, confusion, and mounting frustration. Without a body, a suspect, or even a clear explanation, the feeling of loss remains open-ended. The absence of closure leaves a wound that refuses to heal. Carol continues to plead for transparency from investigators and calls on anyone with even the smallest piece of information to come forward. For her family, hope is intertwined with the ongoing search for truth. Beyond the family, the disappearance has affected the wider community in Salem, Virginia. Over time, public attention and media coverage have diminished, but the pain endured by Joan's loved ones has not lessened. Their determination to keep Joan's memory alive is a powerful testament to the enduring love they hold for her. Each passing year without answers serves as a reminder of the toll unresolved cases take, not just on those closest to the victim, but on the community as a whole. This section underscores the heartbreaking reality of living with unanswered questions. The silence from the public, the lack of leads, and the ongoing mystery compound the pain of loss. For families like Joan's, the unknown is a daily burden. Their experience reveals how disappearances without resolution extend far beyond the missing person, affecting everyone left behind.
and how the absence of closure can be as devastating as the event itself.
Joan Renee Cook remains missing. More than a decade has passed since she was last seen leaving her estranged husband's home on Elderwood Road in Salem, Virginia. Her disappearance continues to be a source of deep pain for her family and community. Despite extensive investigation, no suspects have been charged, and the circumstances surrounding Joan's disappearance remain unresolved. Joan's phone, bank accounts, and social media profiles have shown no activity since that night in January 2010. The last known contact came from a text sent at 5 a.m. to a friend, a message that simply read, "I love you." Whether Joan sent that message herself is unknown. This silence fuels the belief held by investigators and her loved ones that foul play was involved. Anyone with information, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is urged to come forward. The Roanoke County Police Department can be reached at 540-562-3265. If you knew Joan, lived nearby at the time, or recall any conversation or detail from that period, you may hold a vital piece of the puzzle. This is not just a cold case. It is an ongoing search for justice and truth. Joan's family continues to live with uncertainty, waiting for answers that could finally bring peace. Your voice could make the difference. Remember, even the smallest tip can change the course of an investigation. Help bring Joan home and help her family find the closure they deserve.